Is your sales manager pushing you for way more cold outreach to hit your sales quota? Well, not so fast. If you really want to start killing it, you need to shift your focus away from bringing on brand new clients and towards the ones that you have right now with upselling. In fact, done right, upselling your current customers can increase your average sales by over 67%. That's the difference at the end of the year between buying a new Prius and a Porsche. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. Now, in today's video, we're going to be hitting on one of the best tools in your sales tool belt, the upsell. First off, we're going to look at why you should upsell, 4 reasons why you should upsell in the first place. And by the way, there's a lot more to this than just earning more money. Next, we're going to cover the nuts and bolts of upselling using our proven product upselling framework. This comes straight from inside Selling Made Simple Academy. 1, gathering the numbers. You need this hard data to really rev up your prospect's logical side and set the quantitative foundation for what's to come. Number 2, we're going to highlight the change. And this is important. You've got to understand what your buyer was thinking about when they signed up with you in the first place and the future of their business. Only then can you get buy-in on your product's upsell value. Number 3, we're going to start driving some urgency because we're going to look at what are the risks of not changing. Something that salespeople rarely think about, the risks of not changing, not being upsold, not moving on to your higher tier product. We're going to cover 6 forms of risk. And then finally, we're going to look at number 4, the instant discount, the killing blow. This is the trigger event that's going to drive immediate action in the prospect. And I've got 4 tips to help you achieve this and to make this ultra effective for you. Now, bringing in new buyers is tough. You know this. I experienced this in our business over at salesman.org as well. Cold calling, the endless rejection, the unanswered emails. Eventually, all of that effort could lead to a new buyer or 2, hopefully, if everything falls into place. Emphasis on the point that this could lead to new business. Who knows? Even still, you've got to wait for a lot of crap to get those few new customers through the doors. But filling your pipeline with new buyers isn't the only way to do business. In fact, focusing on maximizing value from your existing customers can make your life as a salesperson so much easier. And today, I'm going to share with you exactly how to go about doing that. Does that sound cool? Okay, let's get into it. So first and foremost, we've got to handle the basics. Why should you be upselling in the first place? Well, to be frank, to be honest with you, you've already done the deal. You've already cinched it. You've already closed it. You've already done all the hard work with your current customers. So why should you be pushing things a little bit further? Well, first off, this is a massive one. It's way easier to upsell someone than to focus on driving new business. With new buyers, you've got to go through all of these pains of establishing trust. You've got to qualify people. You've got to sort out who's going to buy, who isn't going to buy. And well, you don't have to do any of that when you've already sold to the person. They're already qualified. You already know they have budget. And here's a stat to prove my point. According to Marketing Metrics, you've got a 5% to 20% chance of closing a new prospect, someone who doesn't know who you are. Now, if you're selling to an existing customer, if you're upselling them, this jumps up to a 70% chance of an upsell. That's an enormous increase. That is the difference between, again, a Prius, as I said in the intro, and a Porsche at the end of the year. So if you want to make your job easier, go with your existing customers. Next up, it drives more revenue. What's not to love about upselling? You should be sold on this by this point in the video. Customers spend more with you when they've bought from you before. To put a number on it, repeat customers spend 67% more on purchases than brand new customers. That's 2/3 more than your average first-time sale. Just think of what 67% increase in revenue by just doing the same activities, but selling to people who already bought would mean for your commissions at the end of each quarter or each year. Then it instills greater loyalty. So when you've already proven that you can deliver real value, your past customers are 10 times more likely to continue buying from you. After all, why do they want to go through the hassle of finding a new vendor when you've already shown them that you've got the right stuff, that you can help them, that you can add value, that you're not full of bullshit? That's why they're 10 times more likely to buy from you than a competitor. And finally, it enhances what we call personalization within an account. So when you upsell an existing customer on a product that you know they're going to love, you're showing them that you understand them, their pain points, their goals, their limitations. If your upsell is a hit, it means that you're able to deliver a more personalized buying experience. And as HubSpot reports, nearly all marketers, 99% of marketers, in fact, agree that personalization helps with customer relationships, and 78% claim that it has a strong or extremely strong impact on an account. So this is marketing, I know, rather than sales, but this layer of personalization, when you can go into account and say, hey, you were here when you bought from us originally, you're now here, this is what you need to take things to the next level. This adds so much trust and rapport within an account, and this is what feeds these other statistics here. This increase in trust, rapport, and personalization. So hopefully you agree at this point, there are some clear, real benefits to upselling. But Will, I hear you cry, how the heck do we go about doing it? That's where our proven upselling framework from inside Seller Made Simple Academy comes in. This framework is exactly what we teach within Seller Made Simple Academy. So if you want to find and close more deals within the next 30 days or your money back, just click the link in the description below this video, get signed up to Seller Made Simple Academy today, and we'll show you this and other additional 29 frameworks to help you improve your selling performance as well. Okay, so this framework is made up of 4 different steps: documenting results, changing and reviewing needs, sharing the risk of change, and then 4, an instant discount. And I'm going to go into these 4 steps in great detail inside this video. So step 1, you've got to document the results. So if you want to show a current customer that a new product has value, you've got to be able to back up what you've done in the past with the numbers. And when it comes to new versus your current account, it's all about how you treat the status quo. So for instance, if you're selling to a new account, you need to attack the status quo. Productivity could be better. Efficiency could be better. The bottom line earnings could be better. But you got to do things differently with a current account, one of your current customers. You've actually got to attack and defend the status quo at the same time. You got to defend it because you don't want your clients to hear about a competitor and then you're saying, hey, well, there's this product that could be better. The one you've got at the moment sucks. You need to be upgraded. And they head off down a different route and do a deal with a competitor of yours. That's no good. There are a couple of ways that you can both lift the status quo and then slam it back down on top of them to get the deal done. But by far the best way is by sending them a value-rich quarterly report by documenting the results. Now you can check out an example of a quarterly report that you could send to a prospect to document the numbers in the blog post below this video in the description below. But in this report, as a quick overview, you need to include the following. You need to include your earned results, a quick review of the previous buying process that reconfirms that the client did do their due diligence in choosing you. They've already done the competitive analysis, so they don't have to do it again. We're going to share any new industry insights that we know are going to provide value into the account. We're going to give a detailed competitor improvement review. So we're going to highlight changes in your industry's competitors so the prospect doesn't have to go and do it themselves. So obviously we can favorably align any competitor improvements with our own improvements. Then we're going to give detailed improvements on what we've done, new features that we've added, new products, new services, and how this compares to your competitors. We're going to do that job for the prospect. And finally, the most important part of this whole thing, a section summarizing the cost of change, the cost of changing everything that we've considered so far. And this is a great place to start introducing your upsell products. So once you've sent this quarterly report to your prospects for a couple of quarters and you feel like, or you know that there's an opportunity for upselling the account, we're going to move on to step 2. We're going to review the changing needs within the accounts that we're trying to upsell. We do this because every successful business grows, and as it does, its needs change. It's part of a business's life cycle. So your job is to identify those changing needs and show how your product upsell addresses the new situation that the prospect find themselves in. It's time to put your research skills to work here, as the more nuanced and specific that you can get, the better and more effective this is going to be. If you can highlight some of the biggest pain points and growth opportunities that your client is facing right now that they weren't facing 6 months ago, 2 years ago when you originally sold them, you can leverage these new pain points to better sell your premium product. Using what if scenarios here is a great sales tactic. Try getting them to vividly imagine what it'd be like if they achieve their future goals using your new upsell product. And beyond just priming your prospect to say yes when you pose a closing question later on in the sales process, this technique of asking what if questions also helps the client clearly see that maybe something is needed to help them achieve their goals. They want to go from A to B. You've helped them get to A, but they want to get to B now. Maybe there's a different gap between those two and they need some more help from you. Step 3 is sharing the risk of not changing. You need to drive some urgency within the account. And the greatest way to do that is to demonstrate this risk of no change. Now, there are 6 different types of risks that you can leverage here. We could do a whole video on each one of these, but I'll quickly run through them. If you can explain that there's a physical risk to not being upselled, to not buying your new premium product, then you're definitely going to get the deal done. This could include dangers to buildings, equipment, and people. There's strategic risk. So this type of risk involves roadblocks to achieving organizational goals. There's then regulatory risk. This is the fact that compliance has changed, risks have changed, they're more likely to get sued. And if you can tie your product into a reduction in any of these risks, you're way more likely to get the upsell done. Then you've got the operational risk. Can your product reduce the new risks that now exist in the buyer's operations that didn't exist before? Perhaps they're producing twice as many widgets. Perhaps they've got twice as many people within the team that's all got to be managed. Then we have technological risk. Has your buyer increased their reliance on technology? Can you reduce their new risks with your product? And finally, and of course, and this is the obvious one that everyone goes to, but all of these are just as valuable, we have financial risk. So has your buyer increased in size, production, or headcount since you originally sold them? Has their financial risk increased? Do they have massive loans, debt? Is there anything you can help with on that front? Can you smooth out their cash flow? Anything like that is a financial risk that you can help solve. So try and point out multiple of these risks that your buyer may face during your upsell conversation. If you can get 2 or 3 of these shoehorned into a conversation, then you're definitely going to get the attention of your prospect. And the final step of the upselling framework is the instant discounts. This is the killing blow. This is what ties all the other steps together and drives the prospect to take action, not in 6 months, not in 12 months, but now, immediately. Because at this point, you've proven your worth with your quarterly report. You've highlighted the buyer's changing needs, and you've outlined the risks of not changing. So what's the trick to pushing the buyer over the edge to get the deal done? So finally getting that elusive yes. Well, it's the instant discount. And this doesn't have to be a price discount. It could be complimentary onboarding support, expert consultations, additional product add-ons, whatever it is. Feel free to get creative here. You don't just have to drop the price to make the deal happen. But essentially, you want to create a time-based trigger that gets the prospect to act right now. And there are a few things you can do to ensure that this trigger event is effective. So the first thing that you need to avoid is fake urgency and scarcity, because these ploys, when they're uncovered by the prospect, they're only going to breed animosity. They're going to downgrade your customers' loyalty to you. You might get that one upsell done, but you're not going to get the next one done further down the line because your rapport is going to go down through the ground and they're going to want to experiment and speak to your competitors. Next, don't get too flashy. Don't use too many buzzwords and urgency pushes because you're going to rub your buyers the wrong way. Instead, be clear, be confident, and be respectful when you're upselling your prospect, when you're trying to drive that urgency at the end of the upselling process. Remember here, you're offering real value to help them get to their new goals. You're not doing anything weird. There's no manipulation. You are being a good coach. You're being a good consultant to this organization. Next up, personalize it if you can. Because if you're only cutting a deal or giving a unique discount with that individual, that is way more powerful than if you're just giving a blanket discount to everyone who signs up this quarter. If you're just lowering prices to get people through the door by the end of the month. Prospects don't like that. They want you to be personal to them. And lastly, and this sounds a little bit controversial, but it shouldn't be, keep the pressure on to a certain extent. Because there's nothing wrong with sending a few helpful reminders that your trigger event is ending soon, or that there's a deal in place if the prospect acts by a certain date. But be careful of being too pushy here. You don't want to annoy people within the account, especially when they're already, hopefully, a good customer. Because with the right trigger event, your buyer's not going to have any choice other than to say yes to your product upsell, because they want to go from A to B to C. You've already helped them get to here. Your product upsell now is going to leap them over to this next step. This is how I want you to think about it. You've already helped them. Now you're just taking them to the next level. That just costs a little bit more money, and that's absolutely fine. So that is the product upselling framework and why you should be upselling your customers. Document the results, review the changing needs, share the risk of no change, instant discount, and there you go. That is routine, regular, reliable revenue for you based on the work that you've already done with your current customers. And 70% more revenue coming in from this every single year. That's nothing to put your nose up at, right? There we have it. If you enjoyed this video, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.